the J&J podcast. I'm Jeff Day.
John Fulford.
Yes, veteran missionaries. Or you're a current missionary, right, John?
Yes, sir. 8 years full-time and going back and forth for the last 4 years. Malawi, Africa.
I'm Jeff Day. 8 years in the little village of Kaltag in Alaska, located on the Yukon River.
We are coming to you from the heart of Alaska at the In Truth Studio in Fairbanks. Well, amen. This is Jeff at JJ Podcast, and I have the extinct privilege of having missionary John O'Brien, the man, the myth, the legend, right from Ukraine. We're talking everything Ukraine today. John, thanks for taking the time to step in here and help us get some things straightened out and try to make another push here to try to see if we can get some help for the people in Ukraine.
Well, thank you again for having us come back and represent Ukraine and everything that's been going on over there.
Amen. So you've been in Fairbanks here for a time, trying to get your shoulder worked on. You had the shoulder problem there and just couldn't hang out there in Ukraine. Well, here, why don't you jump in and give a short snippet of why you're here?
I'm here because a couple months ago, I suffered a severe injury to my right shoulder, and an opportunity opened up for me to come back to Fairbanks to a sports orthopedic surgeon and have my shoulder operated on. A pretty complicated operation, successful, thank God for it. And now we're gearing up to get back in the fight, head back to Ukraine.
Amen. It's a blessing because I want to talk things Ukraine specifically today because the whole mindset is definitely changing in the U.S. towards Ukraine. People viewed Ukraine differently. They look at tax dollars going over there and a whole bunch of money going over there. And it's real easy to point to corruption and point to all kinds of things. And that's the big picture you get on the main news channels. But John, what help me out here? What's it really like on the ground?
Okay. Well, first off, I want to say that what is happening is exactly as Putin expects the American public to react, knowing that America is very easily distracted, unfortunately. And so Ukraine, in the past 5 days, has been subject to the largest onslaught of Iranian kamikaze drones, Russian missiles, Russian artillery, and Russian aviation bombardment in the past 5 days has been greater since the beginning of this year. We've had more civilian deaths, more women and more children killed in the past 5 days than we've had combined since the beginning of the year. And so the war is actually far, far more difficult and far more ferocious and far more ugly than it has been at any time since literally a year ago in February and March of last year when it first opened up. And yet, ironically, that's timed at the same time where American attention is turning away from Ukraine and certain so-called conservative voices that are simply mimicking and parroting and passing along Kremlin propaganda about Ukraine are turning the American heart and attention away from Ukraine when it should be increasing instead of decreasing.
And this is May. This is the first part of May, 2023, and just so everybody gets a perspective on time frame here, we as J&J Podcast, Bible Baptist Church here in Fairbanks, we have been successful in Ukraine in a partnership with John O'Brien and reaching out to families or people within Ukraine and getting everything we just talked about, the question I just asked in regards to the whole mindset changing towards Ukraine in the U.S., all of that. What about the person on the ground that's getting bombed and displaced and tragedies going on in their lives? That's what we're trying to help. They're the ones we're trying to help. We can't be driven by what we see in the news. We can't be driven by the news. We have to be driven by the call or the need. Am I correct in that?
I think it's very correct in that I don't blame Americans because of the corruption that's in the White House.
Right. Come on.
And so I don't believe that others should fault the people that are the objects of Putin's genocide and war crimes.
Come on.
Simply because there have been, being honest about it, there have been acts of corruption that actually do involve the president of the United States when he was vice president.
Oh, pretty bold. Hang on.
don't forget that the corruption actually is tied directly to America's White House administration today. So, but it's not about the politics. It's about the men, women, and children that are trying to survive on a war front. And again, this is the single biggest war since World War II. And the bomb attacks yesterday in one town. We're just highlighting one town in eastern Ukraine. So when you say that we are working in Ukraine, we're helping people in Ukraine, food, medicine, humanitarian supplies, and Bibles. We're talking about the Eastern Front, only the Eastern Theater, which is where we've been working for the past 25 years. And in one town yesterday, just one town, 19 apartment buildings were destroyed by Russian bombs. 6 schools across that area were destroyed by Russian bombs. Almost 50 children under the ages of 18 were killed by Russian bombs in one town in one day's bombing in eastern Ukraine.
Allow me to dive right into this. We hear the atrocities that take place on a regular basis. Now, let's talk about your ministry and where you've been successful and where we are going in the future together. So your ministry, what we've been trying to do through your ministry is to reach these people, I should say villages that where they've been recently liberated, and these people haven't seen food or any means of food,
no
or
access
to medicine or anything like that.
Yeah, no pharmacies, no clinics, no hospitals. There's no access.
Now I got sitting in here today. I have Clyde. Clyde's been over there, and he ran over there and on his dime and helped out and driving and delivering food. And so I guess a pause quick is to say the food that you were supplied with through Samaritan's Purse. And we in previous podcasts we talked about this and how you're not tied to Samaritans in any way, but
Correct.
You are one of the most successful distribution aspects that Samaritans is currently involved with.
We are Samaritan's primary partner for Eastern Ukraine.
It's just not a whole bunch of people over there lined up in the middle of a war zone.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. And we were given that position, number one, because before our partnership with Samaritans, we were already actively supplying thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of food and humanitarian aid to bomb shelters and to villages. And so we were doing what Samaritans always wanted to be involved in. And so when they found us, we didn't seek them out. When they found us and saw what we were doing, they offered to come on board and said, we will supply a full semi-truck, 50,000 pounds of food as often as you need it, every day, every other day, 50,000 pounds, as much as you want. And that has not stopped since our agreement last year.
So as that being said, it's generally the problem with this. Everybody sit back listening and say, yeah, the problem's all the bombs going off. How are you getting this food to the people? And
Good question.
But God has opened up some doors there. We jump in.
Yeah. Well, distribution is the single largest difficulty. You have to deliver the food. And again, we don't deliver food or medicines or other humanitarian hygiene items without including Bibles. That is a hard, fast rule in our ministry. And so everything we deliver always comes with the gospel, period, with our contact information on it. Not Samaritans.
Yours as far as your church.
Correct. Not anybody else's. Our church's contact information. We have a 24-hour call center there in Eastern Ukraine at our church. So the difficulty is getting out to the villages. Now, God has given us Toyota Hilux four-wheel drive pickup trucks that are standard shift, stick shift, manual shift. And we lack drivers. We need drivers to physically drive the vehicle so we can pass them out. Now, people say, well, isn't it scary? Isn't it dangerous? I need to bring body armor and things like that. Well, we don't deliver to the war front. Okay. I'm a chaplain. I can go to the war front, and I do go to the war front to minister as chaplain to the Ukrainian military. But as Clyde can testify, the villages we go to are no closer than 25 miles, 25 linear miles from the actual war front. The last village that Clyde delivered to was a village called Kupinsk, and that village is now on the verge of falling. We can no longer deliver to that village because the front has moved 17 miles from where it was, allowing us to go into Kupinsk with Clyde to where he was standing the last day he was there. Okay, that is within a quarter of a mile from where the Russian front line is. So you can't go there any longer. So the villages that he was able to impact, we have lost that ability to go in. And so that's why that this is truly a time-sensitive opportunity. It's time-sensitive because the front line continues to encroach further and further and further, and we're losing more and more villages, more and more opportunities to get food in. But no, we do not put anybody in harm's way. They will never hear a Kalashnikov. They will never see a Russian soldier. They'll never see a Russian tank. They'll never see anything like that because we have yellow corridors that we operate in where our volunteers and our church folks are kept safe from the actual war and the consequences of war itself. And then the places that are too close to the war front, I myself, as a military chaplain, I take humanitarian aid to those places because civilians cannot go in there.
So when we say humanitarian aid, we've touched on this in previous podcasts, and you can look up those, consolidating all those podcasts into one spot on our webpage, and you're more than free to go there to check out those and see the evolution of how this has taken place and our next step that we're trying to do. But if you in handing out the gospel and humanitarian food, so you take a bag of food and you give it to somebody who has not had food or access to food in a long time.
In a very long time. They've not had access to blood pressure medicine.
Come on.
They've not had access to glucose medicine for those issues. They've not had access to any kinds of medicines, antibiotics, any kind. The elderly that are shut-ins, that are bedridden, have not had access to adult Depends or other personal hygiene items. Women and teenage girls have not had access to feminine hygiene items for months on end, months and months and months on end. So in addition to food, which we deliver, we also deliver hygiene and humanitarian items, including soap, shampoo, feminine products, and diapers, children's diapers, adult diapers. But again, every bag that we pass out, the food bags are 27 pounds each. They're 27-pound food bags. So there's a lot of food in each bag, but each bag, every person we come in contact, without exception, always leaves with the Bible.
Because even he's having a hard time.
I was going to say, I'm going to do have any Kleenex here because he's about to come unplugged here.
Yeah,
because he's remembering.
Oh yeah, well that's what I was just about to touch on.
Yeah, he remembers that village.
Was success as far as
we've been running full steam 24/7 since the 24th of February 2022 at 4:35 in the morning when Russia came across the border and unleashed over 600 cruise missiles, making it the single largest frontal attack in the history of modern warfare.
So we've had the privilege of being in the same yoke here with you. The success that you've seen, the difference it makes in people's lives. Yeah. I don't know if we can properly put that into words.
It is difficult to actually put into words because, we will go into villages that we are the first non-military people that they have seen since the liberation. And they will share with us their horror stories of what they endured during the Russian occupation. They will recount the suffering. They will recount the war crimes that were committed. They will recount.
Share them with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with great tears. We have been received in so many villages like absolute heroes. And I immediately tell them, we were not the ones that liberated you. The heroes are the men and women of the Ukrainian armed forces and the volunteers that fight in those forces. They're the heroes. They fought the Russian terrorists and cleared them out of here. We're simply the first ones to find your village, because the Red Cross doesn't go there. Major international humanitarian organizations don't go to these places because it's too far away. It's not classy. It's not flashy. And so we are literally received like heroes. And we've never had a single one. Now we have delivered up to this point upwards of 150,000 pounds of food since we started. 150,000 pounds of food, and we have never yet, in 15 months, we've never yet had a single person, without exception, in any village refuse a Bible.
Wow.
Ever. Not one person, without exception, has refused a Bible. We have had numerous people join with us, depending on the size of the village, the amount of people that you can find in these villages, who's left, who's not killed, who hasn't been illegally deported by Russia. And they cheerfully, happily, with tears, latch onto you. And we've had babushkas, Ukrainian grandmas, who hold on to you and will not let you get in the truck to go to the next village. They're so fearful.
Oh my.
If you leave, where's my next food going to come from?
Right.
And it is. Every day you go through a indescribable emotional roller coaster. It is very difficult emotionally every day in and day out, to see the suffering, to hear their stories, to hold their hand, let them cry, and then have to let their hand go and say, I'm sorry, but we have to leave because there's other people that need food too.
Kind of hard to hold back tears, but yet, hey, let me try to switch the gear on this, because hey, it's a way to impact and make a difference in people's lives.
That's right.
So basically, what we're asking here for now, let me back up a second here. You are recovering from the shoulder surgery. You've been you're trying to jump on a plane this weekend,
correct,
and head back. You head back, and your feet hit the ground. Yeah, your wife's going to need a little bit of time to acclimate back into the situation.
Correct.
You're going to jump into this thing, and you just aren't going to be lifting 900 gazillion pounds, right?
Correct.
And you're going to be looking for some help.
We more than ever.
Yeah,
we really need help. And now that we're coming into the summer months, now we're able to run 4 vehicles instead of just 3. So we actually need more drivers now than we did just 2 months ago. And another thing that I want folks to understand is you don't have to take time off from work today to come over and help. If you're not scheduled for time off until September,
come on.
We still need the help in September. We still need it in October. We still need it in July. We still need it in December.
Come on.
Obviously, the times of year changes the difficulty of delivery, but it doesn't change the absolute necessity of getting food and getting the gospel to people that are trapped in these villages.
So what we're looking for is people that are willing to reach into their pocket and take themselves over there.
It's actually quite simple. It's actually not that difficult.
Quick.
Folks who have a desire to come over, and this is the key, you have to have very good vision. You have to have good eye vision, low light vision. You need a good vision and the ability to properly drive a stick shift like a Toyota Hilux, aka Tacoma. When people find out that you're going to go to Ukraine, not just to Lvov or to Kiev, where all the flashy places are at, but when people find out you're actually going to go out to the Eastern Front where the war really is, even though you're not going to be near the war, but you're going to be close enough to the war, people very quickly jump on. And I have not found really people who have had to say, no one wanted to help, everyone told me to stay home, no one gave anything. There's actually people out there that are interested in giving instead of going. That seems to be a problem
right?
amongst Baptists. Here I am, Lord, send my dollars. Okay. That's in the original Hebrew in Isaiah. So yes, we need people that will share with their friends, share with their churches, share with their circles of influence, and say, I'm going to go to Eastern Ukraine and I'm going to deliver food and humanitarian and Bibles to these villagers that have a greater need than probably anywhere on planet Earth at this time. And people will start, dropping, help. I mean, people will help you do that. And so we invite you to come.
You and I had this discussion earlier. safety wise, and how do you convince people to go there? And I personally don't have anything against inner cities, but I know for myself, if I had a preference myself, I say this to preface this so I can say this. If I could go anywhere in the world to be a missionary, it'd be Harlem, New York. That's just me. And I'm not that. And there's bad places in the U.S., places you just don't go, or you don't want to expose yourself to. And there's places in Chicago like that, L.A., and I mean, you go on. And it's not that I'm saying, I'm just trying to compare the safety of what you're up against. Yes, there's bombs going off, and there could be a level of concern with that, but it's probably the same level of concern as you would be if you're going to travel. You just don't go to some of those parts of the city.
That's a great way to put it, because the reality is because I am a chaplain with the Ukrainian Armed Forces, I'm given updates on an hourly basis as to where we can go, where we should go, and where we should probably stay clear from. And so again, folks like Clyde that have been there, he's seen some rockets land, but they didn't land next door. They didn't land across the street. They landed 3 miles away, which is a long ways away. It's just a big rocket, so it makes a big boom. But no, again, the litmus test is quite simple. If my wife is returning home,
come on,
it is safe for anyone to go there and deliver food. Okay. If our church ladies, okay, deliver this food, okay, and help us hand out the food, any rough, tough, real American man whose pronouns are me, he, hi, and him,
that's the pronoun thing,
can and should go out there and help us deliver the food. Honestly. Okay. So,
you're saying
if the missionary wife can do it, if the church women can do it, it's honestly safe enough for any individual to go do it.
So in traveling all the way over there, you can
Why say all the way over there? You make it sound like it's so far away. Don't do that.
Oh, why not?
You have to travel all the way over there.
Well, it's a long ways away, says somebody living in the middle of Alaska. Alaska's a long ways away from everywhere.
You'll probably end up spending as much time on airports to get down to Disneyland in Florida and spend more money doing it than you do flying directly over to Poland.
It's not that expensive to fly over to Poland and go in that route. So that's what they would do, is fly into Krakow.
Correct. And you will fly into Krakow.
And then, yes. So as far as facilitating all this, you can contact jjpodcast.com. Email Jeff at info@jjpodcast.com, and I will definitely get you hooked up, and we can get you on the schedule. We have several people lined up now to start doing this. And I also need to say, we have a few dollars for Ukraine set aside, and that's going to Ukraine. 100% of whatever's given winds up in Ukraine.
And for your planning, because you are traveling to the other side of the earth, feel free to stay as long as you would like to stay. We have opportunities for you to stay 2 weeks. We have opportunities for you to stay 2 months. So don't feel like I'm only limited to a few days or a few weeks. We have opportunity to use you on a daily basis, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. As long as you're able to come and you can function, you have an opportunity to spend more than just 2 weeks, because some people can stay longer.
So on a how to operate a stick shift.
Yep.
Well, that just took a bunch of people right out of the room.
You got to know how to drive it.
You got to know how to drive a
stick shift diesel.
Stick shift diesel, and you want to go make a difference in
a huge difference in people's
somebody's life.
Yep.
Am I going out on a limb and saying if you want to save somebody's life?
No, you're not exaggerating that any at all, unfortunately.
If you want to make a difference, an impact, and save somebody's life, and if you know somebody who can do this, churches, pastors, and you want to send somebody, that's the ticket. Like you were saying, you have the finances, but you know somebody, you can't do it yourself or don't want to do it yourself, but you want to see something happen here and make it, hey, sponsor somebody.
All right. When you come over, understand that you'll be staying with us at the church, so you have no expenses for housing. You'll be staying with us at the church. You'll have no expenses for food. You will literally spend nothing out of pocket once you get on the ground, other than your transportation to get from America into Ukraine, which is the price of your ticket, the price of your bus ticket from Poland to Ukraine.
Which is how much?
About $75.
I know you can fly to Poland really
It
inexpensive.
depends on where you're flying from.
Right.
East Coast, you can fly to Poland for about $700. From Alaska, it's going to be a little bit more money. But from Poland to Ukraine, the bus is $75. And from Western Ukraine, where you'll be met by us, and we'll take you to Eastern Ukraine on the train, it's $55. So other than $75 and $55, there are no out-of-pocket expenses unless you want to buy trinkets. And you can't do that where we're at because there's no trinkets to buy. So don't think I have to pack up, save up thousands and thousands of dollars, because you're not going to, for example, Mexico on some mission trip where it's, there's a Walmart on the corner. Not going to happen.
So, that we really emphasize here at J&J Podcast not to be a burden to the missionary. So are these people coming over and staying with you financial burden or burden in any way?
Only Clyde was a burden.
I can understand.
No. Thank you. No, that honestly, you're simply feeding another mouth or another two mouths. And so if the person coming over would like to periodically,
donate to the cause,
donate $10, to buy some food, hey, we're not opposed to that. But generally speaking, no, they're not a burden. We have room in the church building. You got hot waters. You got a great bed to sleep in. You can sleep so hard you'll snore as loud as Clyde did, it's not as difficult as you would assume. So please reach out because information will help you make the right decision.
How about staying in a hotel? Possible.
You can stay in a hotel,
not be a burden,
and that is certainly a financial burden that you will have to take upon yourself, because we can't do that.
Now, let me ask this final question here and try to make this as short as possible. And I asked the question earlier, why not Somalia, Sudan? Why Ukraine?
Why Ukraine? Why Ukraine? Number one, because it is the largest war that's going on the planet, and it's not a civil war. It's not a religious war. It's not an uprising, and it's not a regime change that's been catalyzed by American democratic leadership. This is genocide. This is an unprovoked act of war from Russia to kill Ukrainian citizens, to kill Ukrainians. And why Ukraine instead of Sudan or Egypt or Somalia? Primarily because we are established in eastern Ukraine. We've been there a quarter of a century. So we have all the mechanisms in place. We have an unlimited supply of humanitarian aid that we tap into. We have the transportation vehicles. We have the routes. We have the recipients. We have all the logistics. And Somalia doesn't have that mechanism. Egypt does not have that mechanism. So we are a proven, tried, tested.
Nothing against them.
No, absolutely nothing. It does not diminish that need.
Right.
It's just that there is a full, complete, turnkey operating mechanism in eastern Ukraine that has been proven. We're transparent, accountable, and after 25 years, we've had everybody take a look at what we do there, and it is difficult, sad to say, to find trustworthy ministries to partner with.
Come on.
Okay. And so to simply throw money or throw whatever at what's going on in Sudan, when you have no access to that place yourself, well, that's your own risk, but you don't have that risk in Ukraine.
So that's the macro picture.
Yeah.
The micro is what we're here to discuss, because we're trying to get individuals
Correct.
to come over there and give a hand.
Yeah.
To jump on board, fly over, spend some of their time. And that, this is the preacher side of me, that's the most valuable thing that we possess is time.
Yep.
And to be able to make an impact in somebody's life.
Yeah. You go to Sudan, you cannot stand up and start passing out Bibles and preach Jesus Christ. You come to Eastern Ukraine with us, and you are encouraged with us through one of our translators or through myself to translate for you, to pray and to witness to and to share the love of God with the people out in these villages. You can openly profess your Christianity without having the fear of some religious, whatever unnamed religion come by and hack your head off for being an infidel. So that's another reason why you want to come to Ukraine and not maybe some other civil uprising that may or may not have actual direct effect on your own life.
John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're praying for you.
Thank you very kindly.
So if you're interested in jumping in and giving a hand, you can reach out to me, Jeff, at info@jjpodcast.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Awesome. This podcast is for preachers, missionaries, and laymen. If you wish to contact us, you can reach us at jjpodcast.com or email us at info@jjpodcast.com. If you're a current missionary on the field or on deputation and have something you can share with us, please feel free to reach out to us. If you're a pastor and have some insight that you can share with these missionaries to help them, please feel free to reach out to us. If you're in a pew and have a subject you would like to have discussed, please feel free to email us at info@jjpodcast.com. That's info@jjpodcast.com.